dinariyatu. The third maqama, which is dinari, connected to dinar. Dinar means golden coin, which is more expensive. And dirham means silver coin. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, 1 dinar was equal to 10 dirhams. But today, oh, there's a world of difference. Because 1 gram or ounce of gold to 1 of silver, huge difference. Look at the nisab-e-zakat. Nisab-e-zakat of silver is only about 300-400 pounds. And zakat will go into 4,000-5,000 pounds. And gold is going up day by day. So, in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there was very little difference. But now, there is great difference. Anyhow, this maqama is about dinar. What happens in this maqama, summary of it is that Harith ibn Hammam is in the circle of scholars when suddenly a lame man appears among them. And after saluting them, he describes his former affluence and his present destitute and poorness in a very poetical and figurative style. Harith ibn Hammam realizes his genius and he pities his distress. And he offers him 1 dinar on the condition that he will praise the dinar. And if he praises it, it's his. The lame man immediately praises the dinar. Then Harith offers him another dinar and says, if you blame and criticize it, then it's yours. So he recites some more poetry in criticizing money. Harith then recognizes that this lame and limping person is Abu Zayd Saruji. And he rebukes him at why he is pretending to be lame and limp when he is not. So Abu Zayd then defends himself in some final verses and poetry. We start with روى الحارث بن همام قال نظمني وأخدانا لي ناد لم يخب فيه مناد ولا كبا قدح زناد ولا ذكت نار عناد. मुझको और मेरे कुछ दोस्तों को पिरोया एक मजलिस ने जिसमें कोई मुनादी नाकाम नहीं हुआ, यानी कोई साइल भिखारी, और चकमाक का मारना फेल नहीं हुआ, नाकाम नहीं हुआ, और इनाद की आग नहीं भड़की. फ़बैना नहनु नतजाज़बु अतराफ़ अल-अनाशीदी व नतवारदु तुरफ़ अल-असानीदी. बस इस दौरान के हम लोग एक दूसरे से अशआर के किनारे खींच रहे थे और एक दूसरे के सामने ला रहे थे अच्छे अच्छे किस्से, हिकायात. इज़ वक़फ़ बिना शख़्सुन अलैहि समलुन वफ़ी मिशियतिही क़ज़लुन. कि अचानक हम पर खड़ा हुआ एक शख्स जिस पर पुरानी चादर है और उसकी चाल में लंगड़ापन है. फ़क़ाल, पस वो बोला, या अख़ाइर ज़ख़ाइरी व बशाइर अल-अशाइरी अइमु सबाहन व अनइमु इस्तिबाहन. ए बेहतरीन ज़ख़ीरों और कबीलों की खुशखबरियों, तुम अपनी सुबह अच्छी करो और सुबह के शरबत पीने को अच्छा करो. वंजुरू इला मन कान ज़ा नदीगिन व नदन व जिदतिन व जिदन व अक़ारिन व क़ुरन व मक़ारिन व क़िरन. और नज़र करम करो उस शख्स की तरफ جو مجلس والا تھا اور سخاوت والا تھا اور دولت والا تھا اور بخششوں والا تھا اور جائیداد والا تھا اور بستیوں والا تھا اور بڑے بڑے لگن والا تھا اور مہمانی کرنے والا تھا. فما زال به قطوب الخطوب وحروب القروب، پس اس پر برابر لگی رہیں مصیبتوں کی ترش رویاں اور مصیبتوں کی لڑائیاں، وشرر شر الحسود وانتیاب النوب السود، اور حسد خور کی شرارت کی چنگاریاں اور سیاہ مصیبتوں کا بار بار آنا. حتی صفرت الراحت، یہاں تک کہ ہتھیلی خالی ہو گئی. وقرعت الساحت، اور آگن ویران ہو گیا. وغار المنبع ونب المربع، اور چشمہ سوکھ گیا اور گھر ناساز ہو گیا. وَأَقْوَى الْمَجْمَعُ وَأَقَضَّ الْمَضْجَعُ، مجمع خالی ہو گیا اور لیٹنے کی جگہ بھی کھردری ہو گئی. وَاسْتَحَالَتِ الْحَالُ وَأَعْوَى الْعِيَالُ، اور حالت پلٹ گئی اور بچے چیخنے لگے. وَخَلَتِ الْمَرَابِطُ وَرَحِمَ الْغَابِطُ، اور سٹیبل خالی ہو گئے اور غیبتہ اور رشک کرنے والا بھی رحم کرنے لگا. وَأَوْدَ النَّاطِقُ وَالصَّامِتُ وَرَثَالَنَا الْحَاسِدُ وَالشَّامِتُ، اور بولنے والا مال اور خاموش مال سارا ہی ہلاک ہو گیا. اور ہم پر مرثیہ پڑا، حاسد نے بھی اور شامت نے بھی، حسد خور نے بھی اور ہنسی کرنے والے نے بھی. وَآلَ بِنَا الدَّهْرُ الْمُدْقِعُ وَالْفَقْرُ الْمُدْقِعُ، اور ہم پر لوٹ آیا ہلاکت میں ڈالنے والا زمانہ اور ذلیل کرنے والا فقر. حارث ibn Hammam says, I was set along with some of my friends by a majlis in which no beggar failed, nor the rubbing of the fire shafts failed, nor the flame of stubbornness ever produced fire. Nazamani nazama yanzimu nazman pirona, to string like pearls are strung in a bead. تو مجھے پیرویا. وہ اخدانن plural of خدن. ولا تتخذی اخدان, secret friends. So me and my secret friends were set by a majlis. Nadi, ya is محذوف ہے. ندا يندو ندوا، معنى ندوت المجلس حضرت المجلس. Nadi is majlis. A majlis combined us and gathered us all, and that majlis was such that we were all sakhi and generous people. لم يخب فيه مناد خاب يخيب خيبا وخاب كل جبار عنيد، کہ معنی خسارہ، نقصان، loss. منادین نادا ینادی مناداتن و نداءن، پکارنا, to call out. So munadi here means sa'il, talibu hajatin, someone who came to beg something, to appeal for something, never went bootless and did not fail. Wala kaba qadhu zinadin. Zinad means to strike two sticks, one on top of the other, to strike fire. There are two sticks, zandani. They would take those two sticks and strike fire with it. They knew which trees produce those sticks. The Arabs know the trees. They would go and take one branch from this tree, Marh and Afar, two trees in the jungle. And if you strike those both, you can strike fire. And now we have matches. So you strike the match and it brings out fire. And qadaha means to strike. Zandun means that lakdi and piece of wood which is struck for fire. And kaba yakbu, kabuan means to fail. Like for example, when the matchstick or the box of the matchstick is damp, there's water on it, and you rub it, it will fail. You keep rubbing it, but the gunpowder won't strike fire. That's called kaba. Kaba yakbu kabuan, it means to fail to produce the fire. So the striking of the fire shaft, the rubbing of the fire shaft, they never failed. Meaning is clear. Same meaning for both. That when someone came to ask for something, he would not go without taking some gifts from the majlis. And wala zakat naru inadin, zakwan means bharakna, to flame. And nar, fire, inad, jagada, anada yuanidu muanadatan wa inadan, ziddipana, stubbornness, contention. And the fire of contention never flamed in that majlis, never blazed in that majlis. Meaning, we never argued. We were all best friends. And we were all one same wavelength. Fabayna, so while we were pulling from one another the cues of anashid, poetries, and we were putting forward to one another beautiful stories. Fabayna and baynama both means whilst. Natajazabu, jazaba yadzibu jazban, to pull. Tajazaba, to pull from one another. Atraf, plural of tarfun. Tarfun means kinara, side. Al-anashid, plural of unshudatun. Unshudatun means qasida. So whilst we were pulling from one another the sides of qasidas and poetries, وَنَتَوَارَدُ تَوَارَدَ يَتَوَارَدُ وَرَدَ يَرِدُ wurudan means to come to the riverbank for drinking water. Tawarada, to bring to one another. And tawarud literally means the camels overcrowding one another to drink from the riverbank. So natawaradu, we were overcrowding and pushing and pulling with one another, putting forward in front of one another. Turaf al-asanid. Turaf is plural of turfatun, and turfatun means something surprising, ajib. And asanid is plural of isnad. Isnad means chain of narration. By chain of narration, what is meant here is al-hikayat al-musnadatu ila ahliha, stories which are related to the people of the stories. So it means over here al-asanidul mutrafa, al-asanidul ajiba, al-hikayatul ajiba. So we were pulling from one another the sides of the poetries. Pulling from one another, what is meant here is we were all into poetry and learned people. So if someone started one qasida, one poetry, then we would all know it. So we would all sing along with it. Like, for example, when someone starts reciting Qasida Burda, Mawlaya Salli wa Sallim Da'iman Abadan. So everybody starts singing with them because they know this poetry. Muhammadun Sayyidul Kawnaini wa Thaqalain. So everybody starts singing with them. So we were pulling from one another the sides of the couplets and poetries, and we were putting forward to one another beautiful, surprising stories. إِذْ وَقَفَ بِنَا شَخْصٌ عَلَيْهِ سَمَرٌ وَفِي مِشْيَتِهِ قَزَلٌ. Suddenly a man stood upon us. Waqafa, to stand. Waqafa bina, yani waqafa alayna. There stood upon us, over us, a man, a person. Alayhi samal, samal jama smal, purani chadar. Old rag, a worn garment. Upon whom was a worn garment. Wafi mishyatihi qazalun, and in whose walk was limping. Limp. Mishyatun, mashayamshi, mashyan, chalna. And mishya, the manner of walk. In his manner of walk, there was langarapan and limp. فقال, he said, يا أخائر الذخائر وبشائر العشائر, O the best of treasures and the joys of your qabilas and tribes. Akhair, plural of akhyar. And from akhyar, the word khair is used. Akhyar is non-fasih. Fasih word is khairun. Khairun sharrun is originally akhyar and ashar. But then it was used as khair and shar. Zakhair, plural of zakhiratun, treasure. Oh, the best of treasures. And bashair, plural of bisharatun. Basharat, bisharat, bushra, it all means good news. So, good news and joy of ashair, plural of ashiratun. Ashiratun, qabila. Oh, the joys of qabail. Imu sabahan, wa an'imu istibahan. Wa'ama ya'imu wa'man, के माना अच्छी तरह गुजारना. वअमतिद्दार, वअमतुद्दार, and قلت لها أنعمي. They used to use this word in the zamana jahiliyyat. Im sabahan, im masa'an. In English, good morning, good evening, meaning spend your morning in a good way, spend your evening in a good way. So Islam came and Islam said, what is good morning, good evening? Say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So Islam gave us this beautiful greeting of peace and mercy and blessings, rather than im sabahan, im masa'an. So the old ancient way of greeting is used here. Imu sabahan, spend your morning in good ways all the time. Wa an'imu istibahan, and do well with your morning drinks. Enjoy your morning drinks. An'ama yun'imu in'aman, ki ma'na ni'mat, or ko enjoy karna. And istabaha yastabihu istibahan means shariba fi sabah, to drink something in the morning. So whatever breakfast you do, whatever juice, orange juice, apple juice you drink in the morning, or nabiz, or whatever drinks you drink in the evening, in the morning, may you enjoy your morning drinks. Wanzuru, and look with pity towards a person who was da nadiyin wa nada, who was a man of majlis. Nadiyun means majlis, who had a large gathering majlis. People used to gather at his home. He was rich. Wa nada, and a man of generosity. Nada means tari, wetness. By tari and wetness over here, what he means is being generous. Wajidatin wajada. Jidatun means ghina. Wajada yajidu. Wijdanan means to find. And wajada yajidu, jidatan means to be rich. So jidatun means richness. Wajada, jada and jadwa means atiya and bakshish. A man of gifts and bakshish, who would give lots of gifts to others. Wa aqarin wa qura, and who had aqar, land, properties. Aqar means properties, and qura means villages. Zamindar, they own millions of acres of land. Like Nawaz Sharif and this Sharif party in Pakistan, they own villages upon villages. Hundreds of thousands of acres of land belong to them, and people pay them ground rent. So he was an owner of properties and villages. The whole villages used to pay them tax. Wa maqarin, Maqar is plural of miqratun, and miqrat means large pots. You know, badi dege, like Ajmer Sharif deg, right? Pot. So those big pots, massive pots, are called miqrat. Who will keep massive pots? Who gets lots of guests? Mehmans. So he had massive, large pots because mehman and guests used to come. So he needed them to cook for them. Maqarin wa qiran. And qiran, qara yaqri, qiran means mizbani karna, to be hospitable towards people. So he was a man of hospitality. He would show hospitality to the mehmans. बस फमा ज़ाल भी चलो बाद में पढ़ना इसको शुरू से कर लो हारिस इब्न हम्माम narrates that I and some of my friends were settled by a majlis in which no beggar went deprived, and the rubbing of the fire shafts never failed, and the fire of enragement and stubbornness never blazed. Zakayasku blaze bhadakna. So whilst we were pulling from one another the corners of poetries and qasidas, and we were putting in front of one another beautiful stories, suddenly a man stood over us who had a worn garment and in whose walk was limp. Then he said, O best of treasures and joys of tribes, meaning you are the best treasures for a person, and you are the joy and happiness and good news of your own qabilas and tribes. You bring good news to them. You are generous people, sakhi people. May your morning be spent in a good way, and may you enjoy your breakfast and your drinking in the morning. And look with pityness towards a person who was a man of extended meeting places and generosity and richness and bounties and gifts and properties and owner of lands and villages and large pots and a man of hospitality towards people. बस फमा ज़ाल भी बाद में पढ़ना इसको जाओ छुट्टी कर लो उर्दू में तुम खुद याद कर लेना अस्सलाम वालेकुम There's 4 people here भाई इसको बंद कर दो